Is going good. So those who are preparing for mains, right, and those who are preparing for next year mains, this session will be helpful to you also. So in this session, I am broadly going to divide it into three parts. So number one, first I will talk in detail about mistakes to avoid in your essays, right. What are the common mistakes that I have been seeing in most of the essays, and what kind of mistakes you must avoid. So avoiding mistakes itself will make your essay stand out. So I'll talk in detail about that. Second, how to bring different dimensions in your essays, right. So how to think to bring diversity in perspectives, how to think differently. So that will be second part. So third part, I will give you an example. I'll take example from this year essay topic, and I'll talk about how to enrich those essays with different examples. So which are not obvious ones, which are not cliched ones. So how to find different kinds of examples and how to enrich them. So first coming to the common mistakes, right. So how many of you have written essays so far? Almost everybody has written one or two essays, or more than one or two essays. Don't get offended, right? Okay, and it has been kind of both good experience and bad experience reading essays of hundreds of aspirants for so many years now. So I have been doing this since 2013. And literally almost like whatever toppers we have produced, I have read everyone's essays and made them improve their essay scores also. And at the same time, there are like thousands of students who come to write core test, OGP, mains test series. I have gone through them. So when I have gone through so many essays, now I am able to read one essay in like 5 minutes. Like you can just skim through that because you know what to expect and what not to expect. Right, you get used to it and then you become good at it. But I have been observant, like, so why there are certain people do good in essays, write better essays, and why there are majority of the people who write poor essays, right. So you see that in every subject there are like 2 to 3 people who will score highest marks, and there are slightly above average students who end up with like 130 to 135 kind of score going by last year means, and large chunk of students who score less than 110 marks. So there are people who are selected that they have scored around 100 to 105 scores, and there are people who are not recommended and their scores are 90 to 105. Majority score I have seen like this year like 98, 100, 102, 104. These kind of marks are prominent this year. And that is all because of not knowing what mistakes they are committing in their essays, right. So there is a huge list of mistakes that I have made, starting with the silliest to the most important mistakes. So should I start with the silliest to the most important or important to the silliest? Silliest to the important, right. So okay, so silliest to important. So that is what the majority demands. Okay. So are you aware of any such kind of silly mistakes?
So the writing GS kind of essays.
Writing GS kind of essays. Okay. There is not a silly mistake, that's a big mistake. Yeah? Scribbing, yeah. Scribbing like as if you are a school kid. So that people do, yes?
Writing arguments only around Gandhi, Ambedkar, Bhagat Singh.
That is also again big mistake, not like that I'll address. That's a big mistake. Huh? Lack of coherence. So big people like talking only big mistakes. No, that's a big mistake. Huh? Grammatical errors and all. Yeah, right. Okay. So starting with the silly mistakes, which can be taken care immediately, right. There are two types of mistakes which you can take care within 5 minutes. The moment you write next essay, you can easily take care of them. And there are mistakes which will require some amount of work from your side. You have to write more essays and you have to really develop those skills to come out of those mistakes. First one, writing essays like using you and your in most of the essays, right? From the second person perspective. Some people write from the first person. Totally avoid first person and second person in your essays. So here and there, maybe in thesis statement you can use I. In this essay, I would like to analyze this topic from the perspective of something, you can say only in the thesis statement. I'll talk about what is thesis statement later, but avoid I anywhere in the essay. Especially I is more tolerable, like if it is minimally used, but saying you, right, in the essays, if the topic is your mind is a good servant and a bad master or something, then you will tell me, like to the reader, no, your mind so is as good as so what you read or something, so if you don't sleep, your mind will not be something. So people have the habit of using you, your throughout the essay. So that can be replaced by one. If the one's mind is not calm, one's mind is not relaxed, that mind will be something like one. So make it a habit that you is very much irritating. If it is irritating to me, then the 60-year-olds who come for evaluation, so telling them that their mind is unstable, like in the essay, right? So will be very much irritating for them too. So avoid it. So replace it with one. And most of the essays I have noticed that people with even good writing skills make small mistakes in the introductions. Not in the quality of the introduction, but somehow there will be a spelling mistake or there will be a grammatical mistake or they will miss out certain words in the introduction, right? So what you need to do is that, why people make mistakes in the introduction? Because you are about to start, you are thinking so much about best introduction, you want to write a very good introduction, you are so much conscious about it, right? When you are so much conscious about it, right, somewhere while writing one or two words will be missed or spelling will be missed. After you finish your essay, you make it a habit, especially those who are writing mains, to compulsorily come back and read your introduction again. The reason is that if I find a small mistake in the very beginning, right, I shouldn't become judgmental, right? Of course, they won't judge you based on that, but somewhere it affects the flow, the first impression, right? So come back, read your introduction 2 to 3 times and eliminate or correct whatever mistake you have done that. Most of the people do, but they don't realize it, right? This is very important. And then spelling mistakes, right, throughout the essay. Those who said grammatical mistakes, that try to avoid. Grammar will improve if you read quality literature, right? And there is something called brainstorming, So before you write essay, you do the brainstorming and then you go on to write the essay. But that brainstorming was useful when the topics were more of general studies like, right? So when you had to recall so many examples, so many data, so that lest you forget, while writing, so that you would put in one page and then look at those examples to write them. Now the kind of topics you are getting, so-called philosophical topics, right? They do not require like 20-30 minutes of brainstorming, right? So avoid that mistake. The mistake, because there are 2 mistakes what happens in the brainstorming. Now giving more time to brainstorming and less time to writing the essay itself. Now you should give more time to writing the essay. While writing the essay, you should be able to bring out your ideas, bring out whatever examples you want to give in an organic flow, right? Now that doesn't happen because in the brainstorming what you have done is that you have compartmentalized, right? So from this dimension I will put these example, from this I will put this example. Now while writing the essay, what you are doing, you are pausing after introduction, you are looking at the brainstormed content and then from there you are picking example or an idea and putting it, and then moving to another. So you are creating more compartment in your essay than the flow, right? So do 5 to 10 minutes of brainstorming where you focus only on the key ideas, not on specific examples, not on specific data or anything. Key examples. How to make my essay different from the crowd? What kind of ideas I have to generate? What kind of arguments that I should bring in the essay, right? So for that, why and how kind of questions will help in the brainstorming, not splitting the topic into social, economic, political angle and then making compartments. That is a big mistake, right? The entire essay will become compartment. For a reader, these topics should be thought provoking. When you write these essays, they should be thought provoking, they should be interesting, they should be engaging, they should be intellectually stimulating. Now you have certain collection of examples, you are dumping them. So what happens is that the focus is more on enriching the essay through content which you think are the dimension. That should not be the focus. Focus should be on the analysis, the reasoning part, right? So what you have to reason, you do that in the brainstorming 5 to 10 minutes, right? And if you are writing mains this year, in this manner, you try to practice these essays, at least starting from now, like, try to write some 5 to 10 essays, where by the time you are writing around 10th essay maybe, you will get that flow. So don't be afraid of experimenting, right? Suddenly it won't come. Focus on the flow, like a story-like approach, rather than creating compartments. So that starts with the brainstorming, right? And the third mistake, so I'll combine the silly and the big mistakes. Going with a predictable pattern in the essay, right? This so-called pestle approach. You might have heard about it, right? Pestle approach. Political, economic, social, technological, ecological, ethical, legal. So all these people think are the dimensions. They are not at all dimensions. People have the wrong idea of what is a dimension. Have listened to Sadhguru lecture? He has so many dimensions to give. In every tweet there is a dimension. Again, that is also not dimension, right? So dimensions are perspectives, right? So you are given a topic, right? From which perspective you are looking at the topic, right? So this pestle approach is ticket to 100 to 105 marks. The moment I see after introduction in the political sphere, political arena, political level, political area, political something, there are so many, they try to bring originality here in the level, arena, sphere, right? The political is a constant, but they have to bring originality, right? So the sphere, arena, level, so that keeps changing. And after reading political arena, I know that 100% there is economic arena, right? Environment level, social, definitely there will be there. Ethical is missing. Most of the essays, ethical dimension, people don't bring it, right? So, but now it is there. Now, problem is not that you are bringing those dimensions. Now, the problem is that examples are different, the idea is same. And the idea is nothing but the idea that is there in the topic. The topic itself is the idea, and at different levels what you are doing is repeating example. Now you are very good in climate change, right? Everybody is good in the climate change. So environment, there is always a climate change example. Some people bring pollution angle also, but there are no other environmental issues apart from climate change and some kind of pollution, right? So you haven't read a book about any environmental issues. You don't know about any environmental activists. So you haven't heard about people who have won or who have contributed profoundly for the change in the thinking with respect to many environmental related issues. So they are not at all coming here, right? So when Wangari Maathai won Nobel Peace Prize, like back in, I don't remember which year, so that year everybody was writing her name. She is Kenyan activist, I think, environmental activist. So that year everybody was, then again people forgot her. So now nobody writes about her, like nobody. Then Vandana Shiva people used to write, some people who have read about her, but people don't give those examples, right? So then whatever you have read in NCERT like Chipko movement, Pico movement, so those examples definitely come, Bishnoi and all those things. So which are again very common examples. Other predictable structures are individual level, right? Individual ke baad, individual should definitely have a family, right? So then the family, then community, no, not social, community level. Then comes the social or national level, and then the international level. So universal level, nobody writes. So that is missing because we haven't, Elon Musk hasn't taken us to other planets. If when people go to Mars, that Mars level will also come in the essays, right? So avoid that. At every level, you are again repeating the same idea. And then there is this temporal and spatial division of the essays, right? So ancient level mein the same thing happened, and today also same thing is happening. So ancient, medieval, modern, the same thing is happening, right? So all these are ticket to low marks because they do not indicate any kind of original thinking, original efforts from your part, right? So don't go with this approach. And yesterday one guy, one boy, like he is not here, so he's I think he's giving attempt next year. So he came with an essay, and he wrote essay for the core batch, the core entrance we conducted. That essay he showed me. So I was so happy reading that. So it was, the flow was very good, the examples were different, the anecdotes were different. So then he told me that, sir, I watched your previous video where you told me not to use pastel approach and that. I just went with the flow, right? And I was able to enjoy that essay, right? So it was taking me along, it was keeping my interest alive throughout the essay from beginning to end, because I was not sure what he was writing in the next paragraph, right? Now my curiosity was kept alive from paragraph to another paragraph. Got it? So now you destroy my curiosity in the beginning itself. This is how you are going to construct. So evaluator, he won't be thrilled, right? He won't be excited. So that paper will be evaluated within 2 to 3 minutes. They know what to expect. And then the another predictable structure is that this is the most useless, most stupid thing that many of the aspirants do is they have positive, negative, way forward and the conclusion approach, right? For every topic has positive, negative for them. Got it? So you write pro topic in the beginning. So the topic is something, so topic says something and you agree with the topic, right? For example, the process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. It was a last year topic. So now you agree, right? You agree with the topic totally, yes, it is technologically outsourced. So you have given like 5 to 6 examples based on the structure that you have adopted, right? And then suddenly after traveling through your essay midway, now I see subheading, no. So this self-discovery is not outsourced to technology, right? It is outsourced to oneself or something like this. Suddenly it comes, right? And then you will write like 5 examples in support of that argument, which are totally in contradiction with what you have written in the first half. Now what should I do? When I am reading this bipolar attitude, right? And then you are giving a solution also. Now, okay. Solution for what? No, it shouldn't be technologically outsourced. That for solution, if it is technologically outsourced, how one should deal with or something like that. There is a solution way forward, right? So you have already contradicted and there is a way forward as well. So avoid. I am sure like evaluators might be laughing the way you laughed here, right? Because you are being selected for one of the toughest jobs in the world, right? Civil services is not an easy job, right? And then here you are displaying those values like qualities or attitude that is totally against the demand of the exam, demand of the job, right? There is no original thinking, there is a predictability, right? So avoid these mistakes, right? Then that brings to the commonest mistake, cliched examples, obvious examples that everyone is favorite of, like you're totally in love with Mahatma Gandhi ji, like total, I use the word like total revolution, is a total love with Mahatma Gandhi only with his 2 to 3 ideas, right, 2 to 3 instances. Then APJ Abdul Kalam sir, they write APJ Abdul Kalam sir in the essay. I mean, that is like total respect and total love. Nothing wrong in that. I am not offending these individuals, nothing wrong. We all know that they have contributed immensely and they are great people, right? But the way you are abusing them, disrespecting them in your essay is what is worrying me, right? One, everybody writes this exam, you only do the test, right? You just walk into different institution, if at all somebody is writing essays, take 5 sample copies, right? दे दो अपना essay दे दो, ले लो, ठीक है, and then you read, you will 100% see either Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Vivekananda, Mandela, Kalam, APJ Abdul Kalam. Women are absent, of course, right? So that is, I mean, if at all you use nowadays, like our president has become famous, right? Draupadi Murmu ma'am. So from last Monday, that is. So before that, nobody knew her, like nobody had seen her, right? Nobody had heard about her. Now suddenly, now actually I read her biography through essays. So I mean, since suddenly she started appearing in everyone's essays, right? Now there is again, that is the this is the competition, right? So people want to think that that is a good example. Everybody thinks alike. Now the session is about destroying that. Don't think alike. Now nothing wrong in again using these examples. Now how do you differentiate, right? One idea is to make the obvious non-obvious, right? Now let's say that, now what is happening here when you are using these examples, why is it wrong in the first place? Now everyone is using the same example, everyone using the same anecdote, same life story, same ideas of these individuals, and that is totally taking away the essence, the originality aspect, because if 2 people have written the same stuff, whom should I give more marks? Both of your marks are coming down. That is one reason. Second, it is a total assault on the intellect of the reader, right? What you are writing, when I say obvious, it is already known, right? The reader already knows about it, right? Reader is already totally aware of what you are writing, right? Now, even if they are not aware, like what is happening is that you are not keeping their interest alive, and it's kind of insult in the sense कि मतलब गुस्सा आता है, like when I actually start reading them, right? I know this, like I also from Navodaya school, CBSE में भी पढ़ा था, right? And then I was also an aspirant. I read in the modern, like freedom struggle, the same thing, right? And after that, when I wrote exam, I have written the same thing. I know it, right? So and then, like since 2013, I am reading. People are writing the same example. I know it, right? Give me something new, right? So that is the craving, like from the reader perspective. Now what you have to do? Make it a non-obvious. Assume that the reader is not assume. You know that the reader knows it. These examples, right? If at all you are trying to write an idea and there are like 3 examples for that idea, in one line write all 3 names in a way that it is already obvious to the reader. You don't have to explain, you don't have to give any further details, right? So create another sentence out of it, an idea out of it. For example, you can say that, for example, a Dalit becoming president, a tribal becoming president, you name. So is a new phenomenon in India which will something, you put an idea there. You don't have to even give their names, you don't have to explain their life stories or anything, right? Now I am happy that you are respecting me, right? And more than that, it indicates that you are a matured person, right? Your thinking is matured, like you are looking beyond the obvious. Did you get this particular? So what I talked about, so make it non-obvious in a way that you assume that I know that, you put them together, you put in a sentence and put an idea with it. So what is the idea is nothing but the commonality between all these individuals or whatever it is. Second is, you can go for slightly unknown details about these individuals, right? For example, about Mahatma Gandhi, most of you might have read about his experiments with truth or the summary of it, and you definitely have memorized talisman that is there in the, right, and the 6 sins. So these are two things which are common. But if we can read a commentary about Mahatma Gandhi's ideas, about his life, written by great authors, some books on Mahatma Gandhi. So instead of writing about Mahatma Gandhi, which is already known, all his movements, what happened to him in train, what happened to him in India during Chauri Chaura, whatever it is. So go for like 3 to 4 authors who have written a very good, critically acclaimed books. Get 2 to 3 ideas from those books and make a list of it. Instead of just writing the usual story, quote a book in this XYZ book about Mahatma Gandhi. Every year there will be a new book, right? But if you just scan through, since his death, there might have been like 5 to 6 books which are acclaimed, right? So go for them, from them you put ideas. So that becomes totally different than, so again, don't start with the title of the book, your paragraph. Even when you are writing, now what is happening is that ever since I started telling, or we started telling, to bring ideas from different books and all, people, most of you read, this book by Yuval Noah Harari, right? The Sapiens, Homo Deus, 21 Lessons for 21st Century, and that one book has become another cliched example nowadays, right? Now everyone is using that. So they write it in such a way that the idea is taking back seat, but his name and his book is taking the front seat. So now as a person who is writing essay, you want to tell the reader that you have read the book, right? You know about the book somewhere. So you are writing in the first sentence the name of the book, and then somewhere in the paragraph you are hiding the idea, right? So put the idea, and then in an obvious manner you say that, so that is part of this particular book or something. Got it? So then again I won't be disappointed. The moment I see his name and book, I know this is, again, this boy or girl is limited to these 2 to 3 books which she or he has read recently, right? So then again you won't be disappointing. Again, did you get this particular? Yeah. So she wants me to explain again. Now you have read an idea from a book, especially this book. Put that idea in the first sentence, not the name of the book, not the name of the author. At the end of that paragraph, you can just make a passing mention of this, saying that it was
only in the case of the
obvious books, only in the case of obvious books. If the book is something that unique, something you have think as, again, that is subjective. People think Sapiens, only they have read it, right? So people think the APJ Abdul Kalam, only they know about it, right? So it is subjective, but again you should know, like based on your intellectual curiosity, which books are not usually read by people and which are usually read by. Based on that you can change accordingly, right? Second way of, that's what, one is write it in a non-obvious manner. Second way is go for a specific details of these lives of these individuals which we are not. For example, APJ Abdul Kalam, I usually see the Satish Dhawan story, the failure of the rocket test, and then how he was not blamed. The blame was taken by the leader of the institution, right? And then the story, like in Rameshwaram, how he used to sell newspapers and in a poor situation how he used to study or something like that. And then of course his usual quotes are always there, right? That is like, because hundreds of people are writing, it is evident. Now can you read something different about APJ Abdul Kalam sir? Oh. So I had tweeted something about it, so they are putting it, right? So these examples are like very obvious, and I also tweeted saying that like Mahatma Gandhi example is as common as the names of MG roads in every village, every town, and okay. So try to avoid these examples. The third way of is to go for better examples. For me, this third way of totally doing away with these example, and going for different example is better than, because that like I become alive, like you are writing something new that I don't know, right? Again, now don't assume that what if these people don't know about them, again insulting, right? Some people have asked this question, sir, yes, I have read this book and I know this example, what if evaluator doesn't know about it? See, like evaluator from insights is not going to evaluate in UPSC. With respect to insights evaluator or vision IS evaluator, I can accept if you are saying what if they don't know, right? But even if what if they don't know, they have mobile phones, right? Or they have better brain sitting next to them, right? They will ask, does this book exist, right? Does this person exist? So they will Google out. So Google has the database, right? So it will give the actual fact. So if it is a fact, then so don't assume things, right? Now it is like you think like you are super intelligent, like don't do that. So go for different examples. So if it makes sense, if it is logical, if it is going to fit in the right context, in that particular idea, go for it without any hesitation, right?
But these uncommon examples, how do I get?
We'll address in the course of this, right?
How academic and technical the essays ought to be?
No, he is asking this question, how academic and technical essays needs to be. So
Allowed to be.
no, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like too technical, and again it's not an academic essay. So during brainstorming, I wanted to make this point. So if you are writing an academic essay, for example, as part of your course or something, you can do lots of brainstorming. Like 1 hour you can do, jot down all the points. You can create mind map around it, and then take a break, and then you can go on writing it. So when you do, this is for people who are writing mains this year. When you do too much of intense brainstorming, right? So you are already exhausting so much of energy, right? It is draining you out. Now while writing, the same enthusiasm will be missing, right? So save your energy for that, and my suggestion is don't do brainstorming for both the essays in the beginning. So do it separately. Now coming to technical or making it academic, you can use your optional knowledge to the extent of, if your optional example is kind of universal example. For example, Karl Marx from sociology you can use, but other thinkers who are not universal, so don't try to use them, right? And if their ideas are not too technical, too specific, so don't use them. But if you are a sociology student, don't litter your essay with only sociology thinkers or examples. So ensure that there is some kind of balancing, right? So learn something of political scientist, anthropologist, and try to bring that also. Sometimes when I read an essay, I can tell 100% surety that this is from PSIR student, this is from sociology student, and this is especially anthropology. So anthropology student will know any tribal example or any some kind of, will know that this is from anthropology student. So you have to do away with that also, bring some diversity in that. So law students, for example, used to write technical essays. For example, Avinash, or like law student who got second highest marks this year, and before that Jaydev, who got rank 5. These were our OGP students. So I have read like literally so many essays, like 20-30 essays of each individual. So in these cases, it was about diluting their essays, making them less technical, more aligned with the demand of the exam, generalist, right? So don't write technical essay, I mean don't bring the technical things and don't make it sound technical, right? And one of the mistake people do is that the very beginning, even while brainstorming, for some reasons, because of all this herd mentality, you are not thinking anything beyond the topic. You look at the topic and suddenly your mind is collect examples to support the topic. You just want to support the topic, right? The topic might have like many more dimensions, right? The essay is what? Essay is your opinion, your take on the topic, your opinion on the topic. So which you have to argue through many arguments, right? Now you look at the topic, your opinion is in support of the topic. The topic itself is your opinion, right? So during brainstorming, ask question like, for example, self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. Can you think differently in the very beginning, right? Why just assume about the topic? So in essay gives you freedom to go against the topic also. That doesn't mean deviating from the topic. You have to, in the introduction, after the introduction, write the author's perspective about the topic itself, why the topic is given like this, right? That is the duty in the introduction, right? What do you write in the introduction? In the introduction, you are not directly writing the different idea. What you are writing is the context of the essay and the significance of the topic, the importance of the topic. These two are the components of any introduction. If at all somebody is struggling what should be written in the introduction, your introduction of the essay will have not hypothetical story or example or some kind of your own poem or anything, but the context of the topic. Second, the significance, importance of the topic. The third part of it is explaining the meaning of the topic. You let us know that you have understood the topic itself. That is, this is what the topic says. Then in the thesis statement, after that you will say that no, though author thinks that this is technologically outsourced, in this essay we will analyze that is not the case, right? Then there can be argument, counter argument structures. So I will talk about it later. So don't be afraid to think differently in the very beginning itself. So then and there itself you will show some kind of originality, right? So in the examples, some people have the habit of writing, these their own stories, hypothetical examples, your own created some kind of. So there was this predictability, like some topper told people that write two stories in the introduction, one pro topic, one against topic. So you have like scene A, that is story you create and you write that yes, it is technologically outsourced. Scene B, there is like Radha who is a part of a village, goes to meet Krishna, something like this. You create your own story and you write. It is so disappointing to read those kind of stories. Again, it is predictable. So you have pro story, you have against story, and the quality of the story is also poor, and I know the outcome of the story also. So I know the climax of the story in the first line itself, what exactly it is going to. So if at all you want to write story or something in the beginning, if there is a suspense, there is a surprise element in the conclusion, then you go for it. So that new perspective that you would like to bring it. If it is predictable, then never write a story. And write poems or something only if you are really good in writing poems, right? Again, don't start your essay with a quote in the beginning, right? And then you are writing a quote which has the meaning of the topic, so which is resonating the topic, and then you are forgetting the quote and then writing the introduction. If you are writing a quote, bring that in the introduction, right? Or the best way is never to highlight these quotes separately in the essay, but integrating them as part of the paragraphs, right? Then again, that is also kind of making it obvious that you know a quote, right? So now I will highlight that quote separately. Like you have to show that, right, to evaluate that you have done some smart work, extra work, that you have memorized some 5-6 extra quotes, and you are doing value addition. So don't do that. Make it obvious, like some author, some philosopher, as he said is in his seminal work, this and that, write the quote, then continue with your argument. So make it part of the paragraph. So if you want to write in the introduction, beginning of the introduction, make it the part of the introduction, right? Then one of the biggest mistake, writing everything in the Indian context. The essay has nothing to do with India, right? If it is specifically mentioned India, for example, there was a topic, the backwardness in India is because of negligence of primary health and primary education, right? Democracy in India, media in India threat to democracy or something. If the topic as India, write entire essay in the Indian context, within that try to bring 2 to 3 different examples as a comparison, right, from foreign examples. But if the topic doesn't have India mentioned in it, right, for some reasons you have been reading so much about current affairs, right, all India related current affairs and India related economy, politics, geography, everything. So people unknowingly write, some people assume that, imply, they don't even mention India. So recently the government has brought up this scheme or something, right? The constitution says something like this. Which constitution, right? So recently our prime minister. So it has nothing to do with India, but you again, because you are thinking in that direction, your examples are bound to become cliched, like obvious. So try to collect better global examples for every idea, right? So it can be like, for example, health education, if it is something related to education, right? For example, education breeds peace. So now it has nothing to do with Indian education, right? So you study better models of education that are there around the world, right? 4 or 5 better models of educations, and see if all these models of education are having the same objective of breeding the peace or something like that. So that becomes bit of diverse, better essay than only going with the Indian way of. Again, there also you assume the conventional education. Even if you are going for Indian education, you have assumed that it is the conventional education, but you are not bringing the other types of education that are existing within India. India is a diverse country and there are many education models, right? Under many religions, under many cultures. So that also you are not bringing it. Got it? So don't assume things and just go on boring the reader. And during the course of when you do brainstorming, what happens is people keep looking at what they have done, the things they have written in the brainstorm structure. They don't read the topic. So in my suggestion, to stay relevant, not to deviate, to bring new ideas, keep looking at the topic after writing every paragraph. Make it a habit. It looks like a silly suggestion, but this is the most important suggestion. So after writing every paragraph, look at the topic. So that is what I meant by brainstorming on the go. Instead of doing it in the beginning, then forgetting the topic, you might have totally deviated also, even in the brainstorming, right? You won't realize it. So keep looking at the topic, keep looking at the keywords. So that will keep generating ideas, generating examples, so which you can accommodate on the go. Now, I told like you people are writing compartments, right? So to avoid that, what you need to do is that to bring flow in your essay, ensure that your next idea comes from your previous paragraph, not from what you have done in the brainstorm, that page, the brainstorming, the ideas that your content you have put in the another page. Don't look at that for your next idea. Look into your previous paragraph, right? So keep looking at your previous paragraph, see what argument you have made, right? What example you have given. From that example, that argument, you pick up your next argument. I think slides are not required. It's fine. I'll just go with it. Right. So that automatically builds coherence, the flow in your essay. Right. So don't be afraid to miss out 1 or 2 examples. Right. The flow is more important than the quality of examples for a reader, right? You might miss out one or two things, but as an experience, for me as an experience, the flow is more important. And as I said, if you practice more number of essays, you will be able to accommodate not only build flow, but also accommodate quality examples. It will actually come, so don't worry about it. And other mistakes, like people do repeat the ideas. That happens because of contradicting, like positive, negative. You tend to repeat the ideas. So avoid flowery language, right? Total like flowery language, jargon, and these figures of speech. These what do you call them? Analogies, similes, right? What are the figures of speech? Metaphors, right? In the UPSC essays, you don't need to put metaphors, these similes, like figures of speech. For example, you tell like what? Any examples? What? Coming out with flying cover is a idiom, like music to ears. It's kind of idiom. Idiom again, which is not obvious, you should use, not the usual ones. What I am talking about is,
As sharp as a pen.
yeah, right.
As sharp as
Wild as a boar. So is what heart? As cold as stone. So her face as bright as sun. What? Once in a blue moon. No, these are like idioms, what you are saying. So what I am trying is compare it, like these metaphors or simile, like you say that, right? So so something like, that's what I say. Her face was glowing like 1,000 suns, right? And he was as hot as one sun or something. So very few people do that, but try to avoid them. Again, they do not add any value to your essays, right? And in essays, use short sentences. Some people don't know where to put comma, where to put full stop, right? Short sentences, active sentences are more effective than passive, lengthy sentences. So in a paragraph, there should be at least 2 to 3 sentences. And in the UPSC, the kind of space you are given, compulsorily ensure that there are 2 to 2.5 paragraphs in a page. Some people write one paragraph in the entire side. And introduction should have 90 to 100 words. It can be a one big paragraph. Introduction and conclusion can be a bigger paragraph than the rest of the essays, because there you are putting many ideas, right? But in the body, it should be a paragraph of 40 to 50 words. So which means 2.5 paragraphs in a page. This is for reader's experience, right? So when you make your paragraphs bulky, your ideas get lost, the experience won't be good. Right. If you are used to read, these novels and these things, you will know what I am trying to say. Right. So don't make them too bulky. And avoid government schemes, government examples. Right. The topic is something to do with mind. You also have example from the government. Government scheme, government project, government policy. You can talk about mental health definitely, but you don't have to bring a mental health policy or something here suddenly. So there is mental health issue is a bigger problem. If essay is something related to mind, then in this regard the government has brought up, which government? That is again not for all the minds in the world, right? So don't go with notion that some project scheme that you are aware of should be brought in this. You don't have to bring it. It is not at all necessary, right? That people do to show off, like basically I know like 5 schemes from this government about this particular thing. So in prelims, you read like all these modules about government schemes and all. These especially come before the conclusion, these schemes. So you have written beautiful essay so far, suddenly just about to enter the conclusion, suddenly you remember, because way forward is nothing but the way forward of the government. Not your way forward, your solutions, but government has a solution, you are writing it as a solution. They are not your out of the box, your innovative ideas, right? If at all you are writing solutions, it should be your ideas, your innovative solutions, not what government has done, right? So that totally takes away the essence and originality of the essay, right? Yeah. And avoid artificial linkages. Those who are writing mains, people do this mistake. Now we have seen economic angle, economic sphere. Now let us move into political sphere. So now they think that the flow is built, right? Now they think that the bridge is built between these two ideas. No, it is not a bridge, right? It's just a rope you are putting. So avoid these sentences which you think act as linkages. So they are artificial. The better flow is always, as I said from previous paragraph, you might have discussed economic angle, right? Without using the word economy, economical, economic, right? Again, people have, some people write, economical. I think economical is a wrong word. From the economical angle, economical has a different meaning. He is economical means what? He is frugal. So he is saving, has a mindset of saving money for the government or for himself, something like that. So from the economic perspective, that is the right word. Now economical is a wrong word. So your idea should be flowing from the previous. So without it is being explicit, with these words. So that comes with practice. So for that you have to look into the previous idea. Everything is interconnected, right? Now you know that everything is interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. So the blur between different disciplines is blurring. So economy has so much intersection with society, polity, right? Even artificial intelligence, technology, everything. There will be an idea which is linked with previous idea, right? You just have to open your mind and see, which idea I have to bring that can flow from your previous idea. Got it? So that looks more mature than putting artificial linkages. Yeah. Now, the mother of all mistakes, one of the mistakes, avoid logical fallacies. Logical fallacy means this we don't see regularly because people do not analyze their essays. The lack of analysis is the biggest mistake, but if at all there is analysis, if at all there is reasoning in the essay, what do I mean by reasoning? For example, the same topic, process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. Now the usual mindset is to support with example, against example. Now the reasoning is why? Why, if at all you agree with the topic, why this self-discovery is technologically outsourced? When you ask the question why, you start reasoning out. Now you have to find reasons. Why? So why some think it is technologically outsourced, or why you think it is technologically outsourced, and why it is technologically outsourced. So while finding the reasons, right, so you have to give logical explanation. You have to do the analysis. So during that time people make certain mistakes which is called as logical fallacies. There are like 3-4 types of logical fallacy. So one is known as slippery slope. A logical fallacy known as a slippery slope. Can anybody tell what it is?
It's about rambling on and on. One will lead to the other,
Yeah.
second will lead to the third, and so on and so forth.
Yes? It is an assumption. Logical slippery slope is something you think that A will lead to B, B will lead to C, and A will lead to Z, Z. And the B, C, D, E, F, G, H, you are totally ignoring them. For example, if Delhi government or Delhi police are demolishing a house in the certain illegal house or illegal encroachment, now tomorrow they will totally demolish Delhi itself. Tomorrow they will go on to demolish Delhi itself. Making this statement is kind of a sweeping statement. You are assuming on the basis that because they destroyed one house, demolished one house, now you are making a statement, you are saying that it will lead to some kind of a bigger phenomenon, like they will totally demolish. So during demonetization, during any economic certain policy where the criticism, you see them, people making on Twitter and everywhere, right? So avoid them when you are reasoning out such kind of thing. The second one is known as a hasty generalization, right? So what is hasty generalization?
Sexism.
Hmm?
Sexism.
Like example, why?
Women are bad drivers.
Yeah. So it is hasty generalization is concluding without any evidence, right? You make a conclusion without any evidences. Like for example, he said like women are bad drivers. It's a stereotype, right? So the stereotypes are hasty generalizations, all stereotypes, right? Similarly, you can say that, for example, like similarly, like previous like stereotypes are there. If somebody, if there is a small scam in the government, you are going to conclude that so this government is totally corrupt. There will be even bigger scams, right? So this hasty generalization, there is another type of generalization where that you should avoid. Using the word every, everything, everyone. The word every, everything, everyone should never be there in the essay, right? You can use most, many, right? But saying that, so everyone on the planet, everyone, everything is gross generalization, not hasty generalization, it's a gross generalization that you need to avoid. So there is one more logical fallacy, it is, I don't know, Greek or Roman, it is written post hoc ergo proper hoc. So leave what it is, what exactly it is that if A has occurred, if A has occurred after B, then B must be the reason of A. For example, I am coming from Delhi in a flight, right? So as soon as I land here, I get cold, right? After I landing B, right, I get a cold. Now I will blame Delhi for my cold. My cold is because of I landed in Delhi. It may be because of the next passenger. It may be because I had some food that might have caused something. But what I am doing is blaming somebody, right? So that is another logical fallacy you have to avoid. The name is not important. These kind of blaming someone for something totally unrelated. That is another logical fallacy. There is something called genetic fallacy also. Blaming an individual for the fault of something. For example, so an individual has done something wrong, but you are blaming an institution, a country totally. For if Idi Amin is a what? He was what do you call people who eat human flesh? Cannibal. Yeah. So if he was cannibal, so most of the government or most of the people in the country also similar attitude, right? Something like this. So there is a fault of an individual, but you are also blaming the institution. If there is one corrupt judge in the Supreme Court, you are painting entire Supreme Court as corrupt. This is something called a genetic fallacy or something, right? And then ad hominem, the usual thing we see on personal attack, ad hominem. So personal attack on individuals. So we saw if there is a farmer protest, you pick an individual and you taint him, you blame him, you put him in a negative light, right? So personal attack an individual for something, maybe they are wrong, may not be they are wrong, but you are not attacking their ideas, but you are attacking an individual. For example, if I make a statement, so I don't believe in religion, so I am not a religious person, or if I support another idea, now you are going back and searching my life history. So what I have done, so what I have spoken, and you are making attack on me, right? Of course, you will, as an IAS officer, you will experience it, right? Tomorrow as a civil servant, you will see these kind of things. In essay, we don't see these mistakes because people don't reason in the essays. If at all you are making reasoning, if at all you are making analysis, try to avoid these kind of fallacies. So then contradictions. So one idea you were given here, somewhere you are again contradicting. You should be mindful. There should be consistency in your ideas, right? Now the question is, how do you build the flow in the essay. So try to have a core argument, right? Try to have a core argument in the very beginning. So there should be a core argument which should flow like a thread throughout the essay between every paragraphs. So in support against something called counter argument and counter argument, that will come as part of the essay, right? So now you might have heard about dimensions, right? Essay we keep telling, I used to do videos called perspectives, essay perspectives. So Balaji is doing now. So I keep telling people, bring unique dimensions, unique ideas into your essays. Now how do you do that? The second part of the session. How do you bring dimensions in your essays? So are mistakes clear? What mistakes to avoid? Have you noted down all the mistakes?
Sir, the essay I sent to you, was it a flowery language?
No, not a flowery. It was good. Right. So how to bring dimensions in your essays? See, all the mistakes I spoke about, if you avoid them, that itself will make your essay sound original. And again, based on these, when you start writing the essay, it might look kind of abstract, not so well organized in the beginning. So don't be scared about that. Write another essay and you can come and show. Again, I will be coming in the August 2nd or 3rd week here. So if somebody has written and you try, you experiment, I'll say with certainty, if you experiment writing essay based on these things and show it to someone, they will definitely appreciate, right? If somebody is not appreciating, don't worry. I mean, they belong to that category where they expect the obvious, right? So you should also know about it. And of course the bigger question is, why am I guiding you in this direction, right? So I could have just told, like everyone, go with this pastel approach. In political, you write this idea, better example, right? Now in the UPSC, I think I had told this in the main session. So in the UPSC, there is a clear thinking regarding this. Now they themselves have put it, you should remain close to the topic. There should be depth of understanding visible in your essay and everything. But this critical thinking aspect, ability to look at a particular topic in a constructive, critical way, is missing in most of the essays or answers. So that they want to see you. And I have read essays of, somebody showed me essay of rank 208, like who got highest marks this year, 152. And I have read previous essays of people who have got highest marks also, right? One, either they have their own unique style of writing, right? Because of wide writing habit from college days, they have developed their own way of writing style that is appreciated. That itself will bring originality. And I saw his examples were not that great, but his ideas and the flow was too good. When you read, you actually enjoy the essay, the way they are connected. Yeah, another mistake is this missing transition and connective words in your essay. So that happens because of compartmentalization. Connective transition words are those words which build connection, continuity in your essays. So ironically, paradoxically, moreover, however, nonetheless, in addition to. So these kind of, if you are not analyzing, you are not going to use them, right? Absence of these words is an indication that there is lack of analysis. However, you will use when you have a contrasting idea or a counter argument, right? So nonetheless, moreover, when you have more supporting arguments, right? So ensure that you analyze, when analyzing you use these kind of words, right? So what I have seen is that originality in the style or originality in terms of ideas itself. So basically ideas are nothing but different perspectives and dimensions. So from where do you generate them? So during brainstorming, I'll take the example of any same topic maybe. The process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced, right? Now how will you generate different ideas of original content, original examples? for this particular topic, right? First, whether you agree or disagree with the topic, right? You might agree to some extent, you might totally disagree with the topic. What do? You agree or disagree? The process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. And in essay, you have to look at the word, every word in the essay very carefully. For example, we gave this topic, I think Sunday, or the cultivation of mind. What is the topic? The cultivation of mind. Is anyone aware of the topic? Any inside student here? Cultivation of mind is the ultimate demand of the human existence. Ultimate, not demand, what is that? Ultimate aim. Yeah. Cultivation of mind is the ultimate aim of human existence. Cultivation of mind is the ultimate aim of human existence. Now in this essay topic, the word cultivation is there, mind is there, aim of human existence is there. Now many people who wrote, I think this was Sunday topic we gave on the weekly essay writing challenge. So many people wrote the essay from the perspective of the human mind should be developed as more ethical, more which values, universal values of like justice, kindness, love, compassion, empathy, all these things. And so our education system should be in tune with developing mind to be in this way, like more spiritual, more compassionate and all. Now I looked at the topic again when these people are writing. I hadn't seen the topic because when people bring, I saw it. Because most people are writing, even I assumed in the beginning. Then I started looking at the topic closely. Now the topic, that is why the writing context in the introduction is very important. Cultivation of human mind is the ultimate aim of human existence. Now topic has a total different meaning, right? It is not about developing your mind to become more human, other things. It is something to do with the word cultivation has a different meaning. They would have given developing mind is the ultimate aim, right? They are not talking about developing, cultivation. So what do you mean by cultivation? Yes? Cultivation, the word cultivation. Growing something, harvesting something, right? Generating something from something, cultivation, right? That has one meaning. Cultivating other hobbies, different. So here the topic is basically saying that human mind is unexplored, right? So only 2 to 3% of it is the brain is utilized. There is so much of it which is untapped, its potential. Now that is the ultimate aim of the human existence. Not to become more moral person, but to tap into the huge potential of mind is the ultimate of human existence. The reason is, when you tap into the huge potential of your mind, you are going to create big wonders, I mean unimaginable wonders. Tapping little, you have created so much. Tapping more, you cannot imagine, like you can create like something totally unimaginable, right? So human basically wants to become more and more powerful. He wants to become more and more creative in order to live longer, make his or her life better, the humanity's life, explore something totally unexplored in the universe. So that can be possible when you cultivate your mind, right? So how you do it? It can be through, I don't know, through meditation, spirituality can be one, but technology is the pathway for, right, untapping the potential of the human mind. So in the essay, that could have been the major argument, and most of the argument should have been surrounded regarding that, analyzing why somebody wants to tap into that, right, how to do that. So now that brings us to the question, how do you bring dimension is by asking these questions in the very beginning. Why and how, right? They themselves will create 2 to 3 unique dimensions. For example, the topic process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. So when you start writing the essay, first agree or disagree. Now let us say that you are agreeing or disagreeing, you have both the views. Now ask this question, right? So why is it outsourced to technology? How is it outsourced to technology, right? And then opinion part. So what is wrong? Like if at all somebody is saying wrong, somebody is saying why is it right or why is it ethical, why is it good to outsource or something. So as many why questions as possible, right? At least 2 to 3 why should be there, 2 to 3 how should be there in the body of the essay, right? So while arguing like this, the counter argument will definitely come. Now before that, once you start asking question, then what you need to do is that another mistake what people do is that if the word self-discovery or imagination or mind is there in the essay, throughout the essay they will be using the same word, right? So try to see any synonyms or related concepts that you know about that particular keyword. So for example, yesterday I was reading one essay, something about imagination, right? The topic was imagination. So throughout the essay that imagination word was there, beginning to end. But I didn't see word creativity, I didn't see the word innovation, right? Anything related to imagination. During brainstorming, I said key ideas and also the key concepts related to that particular keyword. For self-discovery, what are the keywords that you can generate? There can be like self-consciousness, self-exploration, right? So introspection, self-awareness. Yes. What? Aim of life. Acha, good. So then, any other related concepts? Something like this, like 4 to 5 related concepts related to this. So now they themselves will give you another 2 to 3 extra dimensions, right? So now self-consciousness, self-awareness, self-discovery, right? And now one is why it should be outsourced is another question. Before that, why self-discovery, right? Why you have to do self-discovery? Why an individual needs to do self-discovery? That is also a logical question, right? So that can come after your introduction. So what is the need for self-introduction? So why one has to do self-discovery, right? So then for that, anything that makes you think will also make reader think, right? So you ask a question that you suddenly started thinking, and in the essay that thinking part should be evident. Earlier I was talking demand of the exam, this thinking. The thinking is critical thinking and constructive thinking. So if you avoid all those fallacies that I talked about, contradictions, when your thinking will be more structured, more constructive, more thought provoking, right, without giving rise to any kind of contradictions. So during brainstorming, ask this question, try to think of 1 or 2 reasons. While writing, they themselves will come. And again, don't be under compulsion to write artificial reasoning, like people have, like if I am asking this question, I should write 4 reasons, 3 reasons. It can be only 1 reason, it can be only 2 reasons. Now don't force yourself to write more reasons like you do in GS papers, right? We are not looking for more number of points in the essay, we are looking for logical argument. And then you again closely look at the word, like technologically outsourced, the outsourced word. When you think closely, it is not actually outsourced technologically, self-discovery, right? So self-discovery happens through various ways. So it happens through traveling, it happens through meditation, it happens through all the setbacks, failures that you have faced in your life. It happens through education, it happens through your exposure to different realities in the world. It is a continuous process. So here technology can just be a facilitator or a mediator. So in that essay I saw people writing ordering laddu from Tirupati is technologically outsourced. Doing meditation yoga using mindfulness app is Who is doing mind yoga and meditation here? Technology or you? Right? It is you who is doing, right? Not the technology doing meditation. It can be outsourced in the future, which you can bring in the conclusion with the advent of neural network, linking your brain mind with computer or something. So some part of it you can outsource it. You do meditation while I do something, maybe in the distant future, which can come into the conclusion. But till it is not yet happened, right? We are still humans, and we discover ourselves through our own thinking, our own behavior, our own attitude, experiences, and everything. So that is where that is what I meant by critical thinking. That is critical thinking, not just going with the topic. So if this kind of critical thinking is evident, it is sure shot 70 plus for one essay, sure shot, because you don't have any idea about how spoiled this competition is. When people write essays, out of 100 it is only 2 to 3 people who display this critical thinking. You may be critical in terms of daily talking, and the unfortunate thing is that even brilliant minds who used to think differently, who had developed that ability during college days because of extracurricular, so many things, even they have gone into this particular mode because of wrong guidance, right? You are not allowing your own self, originality to be seen, your own abilities are diluted because somebody told you to write in this manner, right? So that I have been doing consistently, destroying that. So bring out the best in you, like originality. The moment I see that, and whenever people come for essay evaluation, I tell them, so if they have written previous mains, don't disclose your marks. Don't tell me your marks from last attempt. I will tell you exactly how you scored. And 99% I am right. Right. So I know this is the range of your marks, plus or minus 5. Right. And if at all they have got good, I will tell this is what. And if you are going to write next year mains, and if you come and show your essay, I will tell you this is the exact marks you are going to get, unless you don't repeat any mistakes in the examination. Go with the same. Again, I have seen some people write promising essay in the beginning, suddenly so many people start misguiding, you have to go with this approach, you have to bring these kind of example, then they spoil it. Then we have to correct it, right? So you have to trust this whole exercise I am doing here. You have to trust it, and it is going to reward you. And be mindful that it doesn't mean that complicating your essays. Don't complicate. It doesn't mean using a complicated sentences, jargon filled language or nothing. Use simple language only. You can be thought provoking using simple language also, right? If your English is not, it doesn't mean that you have to improve your English to the level of Shashi Tharoor or something like that. No. Normal English. Critical thinking, you can display that with normal English only, the routine English, using the few vocabulary that you have. Improving vocabulary is of course desirable, but doesn't mean complicating things. Complicating is not original, right? That again will be counterproductive. So I keep telling, like, the third part, like dimension, how to generate is by asking these critical questions. And then there will be like multiple stakeholders, thinking from the perspective of different people, different institutions, or different nations, different cultures.
Self, family, society.
No, what?
Self, family, society.
Uh-huh.
In that sense.
No, not like that. For example, you are asking about this point, right? Yeah, multiple stakeholders. One is from individual perspective, what your mind is thinking about it, based on your set of experiences. Second one I am talking about, the society has diversity, right? So there is a leader, a spiritual leader, there is a philosopher, right? There is a teacher or an administrator, a business leader, there is a political leader, right? And that is one thing. It may be from their thought perspective. Another is, there is weaker section. There are Dalits, there are women, there are minorities, right? And different cultures. Within culture, varieties of cultures will be there. So you can start thinking from their perspective also, linking the topic. For example, technologically, this, what is this? Process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. Now, can I think from the angle of a poor person, right? This particular topic, can I think it from the somebody who has no means to earn a living, right? Cannot meet basic necessities of life. So what does this topic mean to that particular individual? Doesn't it become a good dimension? So you may agree, you may disagree, or whatever it is with respect to, you start thinking about it, right? First, he or she doesn't have access to technology, right? And when they are fighting to meet basic demands, what does self-discovery mean to them? What does spirituality mean to them, right? What does happiness mean to them, right? So what is self-discovery for these people, right? And again, within this essay, the purpose, that can be another, like, so what is the purpose of self-discovery? So is it to realize your true potential? Is it to discover your identity? Is it to untap the potential that you actually possess? Is it to know your place in the universe, why you exist, the meaning of the life, right? So when you start asking questions, these kind of will go on enriching your, it applies to every topic. You do this simple exercise and everything I am telling, you know it. I am not telling anything new here. It is just that you have to ask the right question, get the right ideas. Got it?
How do we specify multiple stakeholder, like suppose
You bring only one or two, not too many. Again,
no, sir, do we able to specify that, like four people think in this way?
no. Again, it should be kind of analysis from a third person perspective, like academic interest kind of. You are not judging anyone here. You are not making conclusion in anywhere here. You are looking and trying to analyze what does it mean to them, right? You are not assuming that for them it means. So then it becomes stereotype or judgmental, right?
As we know that self being one, and we consider nature as also self, and we can say that how a nature perceives things and how it discover itself through technology.
Definitely you can do that, but let there be a distinct idea within that, not the repetition of the same idea.
So we can also use how developed countries think and how developing countries also think about this technologically outsourced things.
Definitely.
This also mentions a word discovery.
Mm-hmm.
It means that it is already known.
Mm-hmm.
So we are trying to know ourselves by technology.
Mm-hmm.
In the philosophy of Gautam Buddha, he talks about Jiva and Atma.
Mm-hmm.
And in medical science, we say see the from cycle and photosynthesis, this shows the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we can say that this is technology outsourced that was already known.
See, what is the meaning of outsourced here? We have BPO, business processing outsourcing, right? BPO. What is the meaning of outsourcing? You are outsourcing your work to somebody. You are not doing it, but someone else is doing it for you. That is the meaning of outsourcing, right? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Right or wrong? You are outsourcing your work to somebody. So that is the interpretation, right? So even in the example you are telling, it is not actually you are outsourcing, you are using the technology. It is still who you are doing it. You are using technology as a means. Technology is not doing it for yourself. It is still your mind, your brain, which is actively thinking about it, right?
In this essay, can we mention the example of leadership? For example, it is also a part of self-discovery that someone knows that he is a good leader. Then he actually outsources his work to other members as well. So can we use this example?
But it is technology related. No, you can use that, but it should be in this. Yeah. So this brings to another mistake. Thanks for asking that question. So what people do is that they tend to, like, especially those who are writing mains have written mains. Anybody who is writing is, especially people who are about to write mains. Sometimes they don't look at the topic as one entity, as a complete unit. They try to spend too many words on one of the aspect of the topic. The self-discovery will take 70-80%. Then the technology part can be 20-30%. So if you have to go with the complete topic, so in your case the technology dimension is missing. So what is the technology related argument that you can, is it because of technology, scared of technology, that is outsourcing it to somebody, something like that. So if both are integrated, then that argument is valid, right. See, you think of the reader, when you are writing the essay, you think of reader of your essay. You are not the only one who is reading and writing your essay, it's not ending there. Someone is going to pick that copy and going to read it. Before evaluating, they are going to read it. So your purpose should be create an interest in whatever you are reading, make it thought provoking, make it engaging, make it a very pleasant experience for the reader, right. So be aware of this fact. It should be a pleasant experience. You should know what is pleasant experience, right. So why do you read good books? Why do you read good articles? Again, everybody has a favorite author, favorite columnist, favorite writer, right. Why? They connect with you. Their ideas, thoughts are somewhere relatable, right. They are engaging, thought provoking. The same thing should happen in the essay. I am not asking this to do in GS 1, 2, 3 papers, right. Essay is a different, and if you want to score 140 to 150, this must be done. And I believe those who are writing main this year can do it. It is not about you. It is just like you didn't know, or you might not have trained yourself in this way. So if you struggle for like 15 to 20 days, you can actually bring this. Even if you meet like 50-60% of what I am telling, you will still end up with 130 to 140 marks. That is for sure, and it is a big thing for somebody who has lost their interview by 5 marks or 10 marks or rank by 5 marks. Jump of 20 marks in essay is a big gain in terms of 200 ranks, right. And do this, definitely there will be improvement. And I am not experimenting, I am not telling it on some wrong notion, and I have seen and I have trained people, and so many people have gained ranks and better marks because of this, right.
Sir, as you said, we initially question the topic why. Then, sir, what is the difference between once again you said that purpose of the self-discovery, the purpose, why we are self-discovery?
It is same, like in that only you have to bring. Why you want to discover is identity something. So I put a different question. Both are same only. Yes. And another way to bring dimension is there are other two ways. One is for related keywords, you can collect related quotes or something. The quotes should generate dimensions, ideas. The best way is to go for the books. For example, let's say there is a topic on the mind or this kind of thing. So I'll give you a list of like 5 books. It's just an indicative, right? Now don't write these 5 books, anything related to mind, everybody. I'm giving it for the purpose, like how you have to search or something. But now what happened, the danger is that I usually don't give any content in any of the classes. One is I don't know, and second one, if I give, people will write the same thing, right? So what usually people, you can sit like that, not in this, be comfortable, right? So if I like that, if I give that, people use the same, I mean they don't see, curiosity, I mean you have to be inherently curious. To keep readers' interest, bring curiosity in your own thinking. When you are writing, be curious, right? While preparing, be curious. If I give one book name, you go and search related book, another better book than that, right? So for example, if there is in the next session, what I am going to do is that, so I have identified all the keywords, some last 10-year topics, right? So all these like words like perception, reflection, reality, morality, knowledge, wisdom, right? So because most of the success, failure, kindness, love, knowledge, all these words are repeated in the essay. For every word, in the next session I will take up like 4 to 5 keywords like that, and I will give dimensions to make your essay more original, right? So don't repeat the same thing. So think on those lines, bring different examples. For now I will just give one example about if there is a topic about mind, if there is a word mind in any of the topic, and see, if at all you are given some kind of examples, you should use that in the context of the entire topic when you are writing, not just because of the word of the mind. There is This book I am currently reading, like The Emperor's New Mind. The Emperor's New Mind. You note it down. Like I'll just mention 5 books. So, and what do they talk about? So you go and search about the book, read further, or you can read book if you are preparing for the next year. The Emperor's New Mind. So it is authored by Roger Penrose. Roger Penrose, Penrose. Roger Penrose, The Emperor's New Mind. Has anyone read this book here? No. Yeah. So this book is about what makes human mind special. What makes human mind special? Beyond that, this book is about linking human mind with the quantum mechanics. How does quantum mechanics help understand human mind or tap the potential of human mind? Right. So this book talks about something like this. So your retina, right? You see, because photons are hitting your retina. If one photon hits, you are able to see it because that photon is hitting the neuron behind the retina. The photon is something to do with quantum physics, right? The quantum physics is built around the photons. Now the author explores that what if knowingly, unknowingly, there are billions of photons hitting billions of neurons, or if you make it happen, right? Now a photon is making us see, right? And can more number of photons hit more number of neurons and expand our consciousness, our ability to become even more creative or something. It's an idea, right? And in your essay, if you write something like this, for me, like, see, you are listening, right? It is something new that you are listening. And if you write something like this, I'll be loving it. So that is something this book talks about. Then it also talks about, can computers have their own mind in the future? The book seeks to give an answer, logical answer. So he is a famous scientist in quantum physics and psychology also, like, right? There are like 3 books by him which are like very famous. You in Amazon, you search his name, there are 3-4 books which have received like thousands of reviews, 10-20,000 reviews like that are there. So can humans also have, so computers can also have mind? Can we integrate? But the conclusion is that human mind is always powerful, more powerful than any computer even in the future can ever be built, because we haven't tapped it, right? And then one book is there, Phantoms in the Brain. I am sure some of you might have read. Phantoms in the Brain. Phantoms in the Brain. So this book is by V.S. Ramachandran. V.S. Ramachandran. So you might have heard phantom limb. What is phantom limb? L-I-M-B, limb. So people who have lost their limb, leg or hand, no, they have the feeling that they still have the hand. The mind thinks that they are holding on to something. They don't have the hand, but the movement, the mind, their brain can perceive the movements, right? So that is visible in the when they do the CT scan and like computer, whatever, they put something in brain and do that. No, so there, that part of the mind which is related to the limb that is lost is active. What? It is a mystery in brain research. Like, you don't have that particular organ, but the mind is thinking that that particular organ is functional. That is called phantom limb, something like that. Now this essay is something to do with unknown powers of the mind, right? The mind is more powerful, it can be an argument for that or something, or the mysteries that the mind has, how we haven't progressed in order to know all the mysteries surrounding the mind or something like this. And there is one book, Meta Human. It's not a very good book, but just like it has spiritual angle. Meta Human by Deepak Chopra. You know Deepak Chopra, that spiritual guru? Meta-human. So the book basically tries to argue that the same, like, superhuman concept the Yuval Noah Harari talks about. In the future, man will evolve into a superhuman because of all the capabilities that we will develop. So here meta-human is something about you will be able to tap the consciousness of yourself, the mind. Harvesting your mind will create in future meta-humans who are actually better human beings. So not greedy, not materialistic, but more spiritual, because they finally realize that we are all connected with each other through consciousness and other things, right? And then there is another book. This is by Deepak Chopra, that Meta-Human. No Self, No Problem. The book name is No Self, No Problem. It's a very famous book. The author's name is Chris Niebuhr, Niebauer, Niebauer. I think French name, I think. Niebuhr or something. So no self, no problem. So this book is something to do with, again, intersection of two things. One is about neuroscience and Buddhism. So through neuroscience research, it seeks to validate the philosophy of Buddhism. That what Buddhism teaches is actually real. So that is what this book seeks to influence, convince. So that it talks about, so there is, which part of your brain has consciousness and which part of brain is unconscious. So all your consciousness. What is the function of left brain and right brain? Left is language. That's what. So the left brain is the one who makes you talk, think, do things, tells you, orders you. The right part of the brain is something unconscious which doesn't use language. For example, if I want to show sympathy, compassion towards you, there is no language is not required. You will feel the sympathy. You will feel the, maybe through my action, maybe through my facial expression, you will be able to perceive it. You will be able to experience it. So that is the function of the right brain. So this book is basically about, harnessing the power of the right brain. Yeah. So the book talks about how to harness. It says that when you practice compassion and gratitude, it gives a scientific reason through neuroscience. When you practice gratitude, compassion, how you become even more better person, more creative, how you become more relaxed, more stress free. In fact, I haven't read this book, but just tweeted based on my small experience. Practicing gratitude, having healthy relationships is the best way for happy life or something, right? So more empathetic people, more compassionate people, for their right brain is more active and they tend to be more successful, right? As an administrator tomorrow, as a civil servant, so don't go by the intellectual stuff, the reasoning part, the language part. So if you practice these things, in fact that will make you a successful administrator. That is what Buddhism talks about the consciousness. So the same, again, while doing meditation, why do you focus on breathing? Everyone does meditation nowadays, most of you are doing. So they recommend to focus on the breathing. Have you ever asked the question why? Why? Why does it improve concentration?
Follow the same pattern. Follow the same pattern. More assimilation.
They give more, many reasoning, more assimilation of oxygen. Yes.
Sir, breath is something which we are born with till our death. So it comes very naturally.
Hmm.
It's also in sync with our emotions as well.
Hmm.
So I think
But why you need to focus on that during meditation?
So when we take breathing, then it gives us energy, and the losing, then it negativity is away from us.
Why? Why negativity is away from you when you are focusing on the breathing? It? It increases the will. Why? Why does it increase willpower? No, you can focus on your hand, like while meditation. You focus on one of the finger and do meditation. Why breathing?
Breathing in itself is a subconscious activity. If we focus our consciousness through it, then our consciousness level will increase.
Very good. So his answer is right. Breathing is part of the right brain. Again, when you are breathing, it is unconscious, or what is it, subconscious. You are not voluntarily doing it. You do it. You never think about it. Throughout the session, you are breathing, right? You are not thinking about it, right? So when you focus something that where thought process is not involved, where thinking is not involved, you will enter that zone where thinking is not required, right? The purpose of meditation is not to think, right? The purpose of meditation is to go into that zero zone of keeping away all the thoughts, right? So this book something talks about all these things. No self, no problem. So it destroys the self. The self is an illusion. That book is about that. So there is another book, The Disordered Mind. The Disordered Mind. Eric Kandel. Eric, Kandel. Eric, ERIC. So this book is about linking mind with health issues. Why depression, why schizophrenia, why Parkinson's, and how that can be actually cured through the power of the mind. Right, this book talks about it. Now, I have given the list of 5 books. So these 5 books can actually generate 5 different ideas in your essay. Got it? So now you may mention the book, you may not mention the book, but you are getting different ideas, right? So anyway, I am going to do it in next sessions, but you can do it by yourself. So now how will you know that which books are better and not? Now people might go with Ikigai. There is a book, Alchemist, the same books. So don't mention them. They are very good books, but you don't have to mention because everybody knows about it. And there are books which you might not have read, you might not have heard, but you might have just ignored, I mean not come across. There are so many wonderful books for everything related to everything, for every theme, every aspect of human life. So try to collect something like that. I gave one app, Blink List, something, right? So you can extract ideas from there and then present. Even if you mention only 2 book names, not 5, forget 5. Mention only 2, something like this, I will give you 65 plus, right? Of course, it should be in the right context, in the right flow, right? So you cannot relate, just because you learned something about mind, you cannot write it in another totally, different essay. So there was this mindful manifesto is the catalyst to a tranquil self. It was in 2020. As all the 5 examples I gave, if somebody could write, you can write a beautiful essay on the topic. Mindful manifesto is the catalyst to a tranquil self, right? So these words are common. I mean, section A of the essay is purely philosophical. Section B, what they are making is that they are putting a mask on the usual issues with a philosophical tone, right? The essay is about women empowerment, it's about technology, it's about democracy or something, but the way they are putting topic demands both the ideas. So 50% should have this philosophical, social, psychological also, some aspect. Other should be the women dimension. For example, the hands that rock the cradle will go on to rule the world. Anybody who has written only from women angle have scored low marks. Again, within that, if they have brought better ideas, definitely they would have scored better marks. I am not generalizing. But if majority had written the same usual, the argument that they have read as part of the society preparation, the marks is 100, 105, something like that. But if they have diversified their ideas through different dimensions, that I was talking about democracy, for example, democracy can be an analogy there, right? Democracy being the hand or being the cradle itself, it can be both the ways. Or like ideas like socialism, capitalism, Marxism, or religion, Hinduism, Christianism, or a new religion, right? So that can be a hand, that can be a cradle or something. So which have more universal connotations than just that topic itself is illogical. What it says is that hand that rocks the cradle will rule the world. The woman who raises the child will rule the world. So that is the interpretation. But actual meaning should have been the child who is reared by a woman, like mother, raised by a mother, through her values, through her love, affection, everything, will go on to rule the world, like KGF hero, right? People interpreted that way and written that way. It is not like that. It is one idea giving rise to another idea or a phenomenon which will rule, the idea will rule the world, right? So that should have been the interpretation or one of the interpretations. So you could combine both, the women angle, feminist angle should be there and this angle should be there. That essay would have got better marks, right?
What would have been the weightage of to the women and the other?
If you have like 3 dimension, divide equally, like 30%. If you have only 2 dimension, even then the other dimension should get more marks than the women dimension, because it's not just from that perspective, right? And misinterpretation of the topic. So there was this topic, another previous year, patriarchy is silent yet the most significant structure of social inequality. So this was a previous year topic. Patriarchy is the silent yet most significant structure of social inequality. So now what people did was, they wrote, because that's what I said when she asked the question, don't look into one small part of the topic, look at the topic as a whole, complete. So many people have written only about patriarchy and its negative effects, how it is a significant sector about patriarchy and gender inequality, how patriarchy has caused gender inequality, why it has caused, what are the consequences. That many people are clueless. People who are scoring like 130, 140 in test series scored like 110, 120 in real exam when they attempted this topic, and they were still thinking I wrote the best content I had. Like usually everyone prepares for this topic, they have multiple ideas, examples. And then I told, did you look at the topic closely? The topic talks about social inequality, not gender inequality. And there is no need to mention it like silent yet significant. Everybody knows it's a significant structure of gender inequality if it was going to be gender inequality, right? The topic is saying it is silent, unnoticed factor in social inequality. Through gender inequality, it is resulting in other forms of social inequality. You should have talked about caste inequality, any social inequality in the essay. If you have written only from gender inequality, the total essay, it is gone. Ended with 40-50 marks in that particular essay. So look at the topic closely. I mean, they don't give words just like that. Behind every topic goes research. The papers are set by so many committees. The topics are selected, chosen by through so much of thought process, and they have a particular demand behind the topic. And many people, because of herd mentality, many have tendency to write what they know than what is being asked in the topic, right? So you know some more about one particular word, you start writing more about that particular word. Okay, so that shouldn't be the case. Yes. So I think that's it. Any doubts? So in the next session, what I will do, I will pick up 5 keywords, right? So I will discuss how to bring uniqueness, originality, and what kind of value addition you can make.
We have 2 sections and 8 essays.
Mm-hmm.
So how to choose, like, is this
that's a, on which essay you can generate more ideas, not examples, right? So on which, anyway, in this session I'll also talk about just like briefly because you asked this question. So one, based on the ideas you have to choose the topic and choose two totally contrasting topics. Two things are happening. People choose two contrasting topic, but even then they are putting similar ideas. Don't do that. You can choose two similar sounding topic, you can totally put contrasting ideas as well, right? But better to go with that topic upon which you are really interested first of all, and you have many dimensions to explore, right? So not you have too many examples for the support of the topic. So don't go with those kind of topics. And so what I wanted to, there is a structure for the paragraphs. In the body there is, so which is called as meal, MEAL, meal structure. So this comes when you are bringing the analysis. M is main idea. Somebody asked the question, no, she. So first you write the idea, beginning of every new dimension, not every paragraph, every new dimension. First sentence you always write main idea, not the example, main idea you write. And then comes the evidence or example, right? So you will say that technology is just a mediator, not the main factor in self-discovery. Mediator is a statement, main idea. Then comes the evidence, ME, example or the evidence. So for which you are giving the example, apps, what Facebook is doing, what social media is doing. Basically you will explain example, evidence. And then you have to do analysis, A. Analysis of it. So this analysis is what majorly missing in most of the essays. Sometimes main ideas. People write just the example and then they move to another example. So what I am looking for is that part where you are, which is coming from your own mind, the sentence where you are framing by yourself. Most of the times you are explaining what is any example. In that moment what you are thinking and writing, crystallizing it as argument, idea, that line. So in the analysis part that comes, in main idea that comes, then the example. In the analysis, now you may be having a counter argument, or you may be looking even more deeper. Analysis is breaking it to small parts, examining very closely. Now you have to examine closely validity of the main argument, right? So is it valid in all the circumstances, right? Is it universal? Are there any exceptions? Something like that. So it depends idea to idea. That A is analysis, L is lead. Lead for what? Your next argument, right? So your analysis itself can be a lead, or you can put a lead, not artificial sentence, but like now we will move to this, not that is the lead, right? Somewhere you are giving hint, like for example, let's say you are talking about something related to government policy which is related to any example you can give, any economy. For example, demonetization. I will just take a very normal example, like demonetization. So you are talking about, you are analyzing it. Now you don't know like to which idea you have to move, but remotely you think that maybe it's political repercussions you might want to talk. Maybe it's social impact of that particular demonetization you might want to talk. So at the end of that particular argument, you are bringing an idea or a lead which smoothly takes you to the social impact. So there that could be something related to, you are discussing from the economic angle, but is there anything that you can link within economy? Is there anything that is social? Anybody can think any idea here?
Economic disparities lead to societal disparities.
Maybe one of the objective you can quote has been what? Anything related to society? Was it any argument?
लाइक अगर डिमोनेटाइजेशन होगा तो उस वजह से जो लोग यूज नहीं कर रहे हैं लाइक एप्स के थ्रू है वो लोग तो सफर
Now,
करेंगे.
was there any objective related to health, education, women, society? Demonetization was any one of these objective of demonetization? maybe like, so that can be your lead argument in that particular funding. There is finance thing is there, there is terrorism something is there. So next you can talk about the social dimension of the terrorism or something. I'm giving a raw example. While writing you will actually discover, right? So that is the lead, you write it at the end of the paragraph. So that brings coherence, right? So when we see that analysis and your lead ideas, we'll be very happy. See, conclusion I personally prefer, like not personally, and anybody who has curious mind, anybody who likes to be engaged, they would like to see that conclusion which is again thought provoking, which is open ended. It should not be conclusive per se, right? And which is some way futuristic and more constructive, hopeful, not pessimistic, sarcastic, negative, right? So it should be, I gave example, no, like that mind one, right? Something that is open ended in the sense ki it has another new perspective in the conclusion. So it's very difficult thing to do actually. It doesn't come easily, but if you write regularly, but see, the good conclusion is always the result of good body. In the body, if you are in the flow, like you are in the flow of thought process, you are writing, suddenly you will actually get a great idea. So I remember, like yesterday I was reading one essay, she is sitting here. So after every darkness, the dawn comes. So in the conclusion, suddenly she talked about the death, right? So death is what? Ultimate darkness. So what after death? Can there be a dawn? Or can humanity actually bring dawn after the death in the future? There was a question mark. Now suddenly it is like thought provoking in the sense that we might win over death in the future. We might resuscitate, what is the word that? Resuscitate or resuscitate? What? I know the spelling, I don't know how to pronounce. Resurrection and resuscitate, what is that? People from the dead, make them alive again. Maybe using technology, maybe using, yeah, white work, anything. So can we make it possible? So that kind of thought-provoking conclusion which makes reader think even after you finished. And those who are writing mains, my suggestion is that don't give up till your last sentence. People have, in the rush, they just want to write some conclusion. Sometimes conclusion can actually leave behind a positive impact, right? So be involved, like be immersed in that thought process and try to write really meaningful thought-provoking conclusions, right? So that can make a turnaround. Even in body, if you are disappointed, sometimes conclusion, when does it happen? Suddenly you are bringing a perspective that I have never thought about it, right? So I was not aware of it. And you feel actually happy, like, when people do that in their conclusion or in the body sometimes. So you feel like so happy, like, on that individual respect, badega na, like, yeah.
Like games also. Like games also.
Like game, that's what he said, like white work.
White walkers.
उसमें पता तो वो तो मरेगा तो but who would kill him we didn't know, but who killed him was a pleasant surprise, and how she killed was also a देखा है ना Game of Thrones, right? So nowadays which series all of you are watching? What? Money Heist. अभी भी देख रहे हो उसको? Okay. So I was seeing Manifest. Some episodes I like Manifest. Stranger Things. Have you seen that? Stranger Things. So it's a very good series actually. And there was another series for essay ideas, Black Mirror.
Like, can we quote series examples and movie examples?
Again, it should not be popular ones. It should be critical ones. मतलब critically acclaimed kind of. Like yesterday I was having discussion. Interstellar you can quote if you want, but not like other like popcorn movies. So the Black Mirror series, if you watch that, it's about dystopian future. In the future, so they can give ideas for conclusions actually. But write it in a positive way, but that will give you very good ideas. Black Mirror series, I think they have only like around 12 episodes or something, 3 seasons. They are really thought provoking. And documentaries also you can watch, those who are writing next year, many thoughtful. There are documentaries on democracy. See, these can become your hobbies also, which you can put as hobbies and interest in your DAF also. And essay is something, you bring ideas from everywhere, not just from. I get so disappointed when people write example only from freedom struggle, social religious, Raja Ram Mohan Rai. There was no other social religious reform. Like Raja Ram Mohan, he is the only Raja, So why, right? So I know, he did something, right? And he also knows, but it's so cliched, and again, I don't know what to tell. Anna Hazare people mention. Right. So don't bring anything from your GS preparation. What you are doing as part of GS preparation, don't make them source of your ideas and examples. That is one best way to make your essay original. Okay. So especially if you are writing GS1 test, all world history, not world history also, because world history padhte nahi hai tum log. You ignore it. Mostly, again, see, art and culture as the philosophical dimension. People ignore that. You read from film perspective with so much of heavy heart, and so you haven't internalized or remembered them. You can get very good ideas from the philosophical section of art and culture, or ancient Indian philosophy. So it gives so many ideas. So fine. Okay, thank you. So next session we'll do from Bangalore. I think that will be live streamed. We can watch it. Pardon, I didn't hear. Correct. No, it's okay. It's better to scribble 1 or 2 words and neatly write than leave that mistake. Okay, so you can neatly do it, right? So, okay. Thank you. So, for all of you, I am giving one essay topic as an exercise, because we had a session. So, I am giving you a topic as an exercise. You can go back and write. Can you just note it down? Okay. A bad conscience is easier to cope with. A bad conscience is easier to cope with than a bad reputation. A bad conscience is easier to cope with than a bad reputation. You can just go and try. When I come next time here, somebody have understood the session. So you can write it and show it. A bad conscience, not consciousness, conscience, is easier to cope with than a bad reputation. Friedrich Nietzsche. It is pronounced as Nietzsche. Nietzsche. अभी गूगल पे ट्राई करो. इन कन्नड़ा नीचा मीन्स नीच हिंदी में भी सेम है ना. रिमेंबर मणिशंकर अय्यर.